American English, American English, American English webinar series. Teach and learn. American English webinar series.
Hello everyone and welcome to the American English webinar series brought to you by the American English team at the U.S. Department of State in Washington, D.C. My name is Katie, part of the American English team, also known as Moderator Katie. You'll also see my friend Moderator Amy in the chat box today, and Moderator Curtis unfortunately can't join us today. We've had a few changes since our last webinar series. This webinar program is now called the American English Webinar Series, and it used to be called Shaping the Way We Teach English Webinar Course. Don't worry, as you know by now, you can still expect the same great sessions or maybe even better. Now our webinars are just 60 minutes long, and in previous courses they were 90 minutes long. And what's most exciting about our new American English Webinar Series is that each month the webinars will be related to a specific theme that you can also find on the American English website in the Teacher's Corner. So in addition to this webinar, you'll also find resources, lesson plans, and much more related to that topic. Here you can see the schedule for this series. After today, our next webinar is Building Student Autonomy through Cooperative Classroom Management, presented by Gina Rhodes. During these webinars, you will hear but not see the presenter. The way for you to participate is by using the chat box, as you are already doing. This is where you can ask questions or make comments related to today's topic. We may not be able to answer every question, as there are hundreds of you participating today, but there is another place to ask questions after the session is over on the Ning. Your presenter may also ask you questions in the form of polls. These multiple choice questions will appear on the screen for you to answer. Some people may experience technical problems, and unfortunately we cannot fix individual technical issues, but we will let you know if there is a universal or a global issue. If you do lose sound, a great way to follow along is in the caption pod below. Each webinar series consists of 6 webinars. During every series, webinars take place every other Wednesday. If you attend at least 4 out of 6 webinars, you will receive an e-certificate from the Regional English Language Officer or local U.S. Embassy. To ensure you're eligible for the e-certificate, we will ask you to submit your attendance at the very end of the webinar. Please do not submit it before we request it, or it won't be counted. At the end of the webinar, you will click on this link that we will give you and fill out the requested information. We hope many of you are already familiar with our Ning site, but if you haven't registered yet, please do join the site. You can find resources and discussion questions related to each webinar, as well as all of the webinar recordings. This is also where you can ask presenter questions after the webinar. If you've visited the site before, you probably have noticed that it looks pretty different, but don't worry, all the content is there. It just has a new name and a new look. Daylight savings time ends in the United States on November 1st. On that day, we switch to standard time, which means we set our clocks back 1 hour. Webinars for the rest of this course still take place at 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Washington, D.C., but you may find that after November 1st, these webinars are 1 hour earlier in your local time zone. So please use the time conversion link provided here to confirm your local time for the final 2 webinars in this course. Be sure to enter the webinar dates, November 4th and November 18th, when using the time zone converter. You will also receive this information in the reminder emails that are sent out before each webinar. And of course, we don't want you to miss out on those last 2 sessions, so Make sure to double check those times. And now for today's webinar. This session is Learn It, Share It, using a variety of tools for sharing best practices across continents. Today, our presenter will discuss the implications of information sharing on teacher professional development and educational sustainability measures. Utilizing specific examples of teacher sharing in the global playing field, our presenter will feature great resources submitted by you, members of our webinar audience, and show specific ways new and current teachers can begin sharing their own knowledge and expertise with local and global audiences. Our presenter today is Ryan Brooks. Ryan received his master's in TESOL from CUNY Hunter College in New York, New York. Since 2003, Ryan has taught ESL or EFL in Thailand, South Korea, the Czech Republic, New York City, Seattle, Washington, and recently served as an English language fellow in Tarapoto, Peru. His interests in the EFL field include teacher training, language contextualization, and project-based learning. Currently, Ryan is the Director of Teacher Training for ELS TEFL certification based in Boston, Massachusetts. So welcome, Ryan. We're so excited to see what you have for us today.
So thanks, Kate, for that terrific introduction. And what can I say but good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I want to once again welcome you to today's American English webinar as part of our October series focusing on professional development. Today, we'll be talking about sharing as a tool for professional development. And I just suspect amongst this group of professionals, we're going to have a good time and you'll be able to generate a lot of exciting discussion. Throughout the presentation, there's going to be many opportunities for you to add to the discussion. Please take the opportunity to share these ideas by typing your responses in the text box on the left of your screen and/or responding to the different poll questions that will be asked throughout the presentation. Throughout this presentation, I will try to monitor these responses as best as I am able. So a little bit about myself. My name is Ryan Brooks, and again, so excited to be with you here in this global community of learning. Wow! Having been in the field of ESL and EFL for the past 15 years, I can tell you I am still learning new things each and every day. In response, when I learn something new or see an effective teaching practice, I always try to find an opportunity to share it with another colleague or friend. Hence, it's become my sort of mantra: learn it and share it. As you view this webinar, I hope you too will be encouraged to do the same, and we'll share some of these ideas on our Ning discussion board following this presentation. So the objectives for this webinar are as follows. Our first objective is to appreciate the value of learning and sharing information as a tool for professional development. We will then describe some of the many benefits of sharing this information. And then the very exciting part of this webinar, we're going to view global examples from you of ways you and other educational institutions have shared information. It's going to be a fun one, so hold on to your seat. So to begin our conversation, let's take a minute. Think about some places where you have learned new information that has informed or improved your teaching practice? Please, to the left of your screen, tell me, where do you get the new ideas? Ooh, yeah, I'm seeing some answers already. Online courses, dictionaries, conferences, blogs. I can tell this is going to be a good group. The internet, MOOCs, colleagues. Oh my gosh, look at this place light up. Fantastic. So as I was brainstorming earlier about ways I have required new information, here are some places I've identified. Of course, my schooling. Yes, and getting ready to teach in pre-service institutes. Of course, lots of information there. Certificate programs. Maybe some of you have taken a TEFL certification program. Yes, indeed, you're going to get a wealth of information from these kinds of programs. Professional development in services, workshops and conferences. Gosh, I hope that you are attending these. Of course, commercial materials and books and online resources. And here highlighted, and which we're going to go into a bit further, is from others in the field. Understanding that we are constantly learning from others, I want to take the time to ask you if any of you have been sharers of information. So we'll throw up the poll here. Take the time to answer the following question. Within the last month, the last 30 days, have you personally shared knowledge in a professional context? In other words, have you shared ideas and information in effective or best practices with another colleague or group of colleagues? And look at these numbers, folks. Over 90% of you have said that within the last 30 days you have shared. Congratulations! Indeed, as I hope you are thinking about it now, we are always, as educators, learning. This is a beautiful thing. But many times, we are also in a position to share our knowledge with others. As teachers, we should understand that sharing is part of our professional responsibility. And I particularly like this quote, which I think expresses the point clearly. Life is about getting and sharing. The more you share, the more you get. And the more you get, the more your sharing responsibility multiplies. Do you agree? As you think about your responsibility to share, let us look at a few of the many, many benefits of sharing with others. Here's a nice proverb to think about. In teaching others, we teach ourselves. Realize that when you share something, even if it's with just one other colleague, you are teaching. And when you are teaching others, you are also learning many things, but in a deeper and more meaningful way. Take a look at this diagram and you will see the research to back this up. At the bottom of the pyramid, you will see that in teaching and sharing knowledge with others, you retain and remember about 90% of the information. Now compare that with listening to a lecture, and you'll see just how important sharing information is to your own learning. Hence, one of the great benefits in sharing with others is that your memory is reinforced and improved. Oftentimes, when you share information with others, it may lead to questions that you had never ever thought about. Please note, these questions are great. Questions allow us to see things from different perspectives and help us to deepen our understanding of the topic. Questions can help us begin to explore things that we hadn't considered before, leading us to come up with possibly even more effective solutions. In sharing ideas, you also gain valuable practice in articulating your ideas and thoughts. And while you may be initially nervous, start small. Talk to a colleague or two, and then work your way up to larger and larger audiences. In sharing more regularly, you will feel more confident in your knowledge, and your communication skills will improve with this confidence, I assure you. Another benefit of sharing, it opens the doors for others to share. Yes, indeed. If people see you sharing, it might make them more confident to share an idea of their own. And when many ideas are present, a rich discussion can take place, leading to innovative problem solving and a better awareness for how to confront different issues that may come up. Of course, when you share, realize that you are a leader. And when you lead, others are likely to follow you, to be inspired and to be challenged and to be more motivated. And when you have a team that is with you and open to these new ideas, this, folks, is when positive change can happen. We often hear about sustainability when we talk about the environment. But we can also talk about sustainability when we talk about education. Sustainability simply means that something will continue to exist. The good work that you are doing in your universities and schools, we want that to continue. But it can only continue and sustain if we are sharing information with a new generation of teachers. This is why it is particularly important that we are sharing best practices with students in our pre-service programs in the universities and pedagogical institutions around the globe. These are the future teachers who will ensure that good educational practices continue into the future. On this note, let us pretend for a moment. Let us say you share information with 3 people. You see those 3 people in the red. And those 3 people share with another 3 people at your school. That's 12 people who have acquired new information just from you. Pretty cool, huh? But let's think bigger. Let's pretend you give a workshop to 20 teachers. And then those teachers take those great ideas and share it with just 20 other folks. For all of you mathematicians out there, how many people have now gotten that information? Let's throw up our poll. Again, You have 20 teachers that you've shared information with, and then those 20 teachers tell another 20. How many people have learned something from what you have shared? Let's see how you did. The actual answer, 420. So as you can see, when we share, the multiplier effect is truly great. And now we get to the exciting part of this webinar, sharing what you folks have been doing out in the field. Over the course of the last 2 months, we asked you to share with us some best practices that you have been doing in your schools. And I have to say, wow, did you ever respond? We received submissions from all over the world, from Asia to Africa to Europe to South America. And it is an absolute pleasure to showcase these 12 submissions selected for this webinar. I want to take this opportunity to thank you, for without your enthusiasm, we wouldn't have had nearly the amount of diversity in ideas. So as we go through, identify some of the activities that might work for you in your professional setting. How could they be adapted? Take some notes, ask questions, and most importantly, share some of the things that you are doing. You can do this by using the chat box, as well as posting in our Ning discussion board following this session. So with that said, let us get started. We'll start our sharing journey in Uruguay at the Alianza Binational Center. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the folks at Alianza for putting together and submitting the first abstract, which served as the overall exemplar for future submissions. Headquartered in Montevideo, Uruguay, Alianza is a 75-year-old nonprofit organization with 40 branches serving nearly 10,000 students across the country. Wow! The mission of the school is to encourage goodwill and understanding between Uruguay and the United States through educational and cultural activities. Offering a range of programming, including online courses, Alianza is committed at every level of the organization to utilize technology to support excellence in teaching. As teacher and program coordinator Elena notes, technology is not our master, it is our tool. We use it to communicate, inform, teach, reach out, and learn. One of the more innovative uses of technology, the school, in partnership with the public education system, teaches English remotely to elementary school-age children. The Alianza teacher, here you can see her on the left, co-teaches virtually with public school teachers during an actual English class to offer new and innovative instructional practices. How neat, huh? The school also houses an audio-visual production studio. Yes, folks, they have their own green room. It offers staff, students, and visitors a chance to utilize the latest video and sound equipment in order to record class skits, educational podcasts, informational videos, interviews, theater spots, and so much more. These videos are then archived on the school's YouTube channel, which now has been viewed, can you believe it, over 152,000 times. Way to go. Now, I realize that everyone does not have a fancy green room at their disposal, but returning back to how we adapt, you certainly could create videos from your phone and post them on your own YouTube channel. And while you may not have access to technology to do remote teaching, why not partner up with another teacher and show best practices through co-teaching? See how easy it is to adapt? So let's use this opportunity, maybe in the left, in your chat box. Can you think of any other ways you could adapt these ideas into your own practice? Yes, using laptops, of course. Ooh, Ishmael from Mexico created a restaurant. Huh. Very neat. Video conferencing, singing, role plays, laptops, again, using cameras. Yes, this is all great stuff. Now we go to the other side of the world, to Asia. Universitas Negeri Makassar is a public university located in eastern Indonesia, specializing in educating pre-service and in-service teachers of English as a foreign language. This 54-year-old university consists of several faculties and departments. In the English Education Study program, there is an emphasis placed on sharing, creating, adapting, and modifying tools for use in the classroom. Teacher Rizky Israini Esnur uses a variety of internet-based activities for English language teaching and learning. Among one of the more interesting and unique platforms used is Club Kui Chat Messenger, an online messaging system that allows students to interact communicatively with others through avatars that they create themselves. How neat! The teacher also finds opportunities for students to interact and collaborate directly outside the classroom language lab, utilizing project-based learning to support content learning. Quick question, and by a show of hands, raise your hand if you have ever used project-based learning in your classroom. We have a lot of hands shown. Nice to see that we're using a lot of project-based work in our practice. Project-based work from UMSA. You don't always necessarily need technology in order to do project-based learning. Wow, Miguel, you have a whole team that you work with for doing project-based work. That's great. I also see folks are making posters. Great. Let's move on to Europe. Secondary school number 4 of Soligorsk is a state-run educational institution located in Soligorsk, Belarus. The school serves about 670 students ages 6 to 17. In 2012, teacher Vola Krulova, a veteran teacher with over 21 years of experience, took part in the eTeacher Scholarship Program, Building Teaching Skills Through the Interactive Web. This was a program in partnership with the University of Oregon. Having learned more about Web 2.0 tools and effective teaching techniques, teacher Vola began to incorporate more technology into her lessons. One project students took part in was an international internet project through ePals. Have you heard of it? ePALS is the leading provider of safe, collaborative technology for schools to connect and learn in a protected, project-based learning network. During a 5-week period, students exchanged email messages with students of their age from the USA on a variety of different topics, including school life, hobbies, daily life, and many more. And they also communicated with their American peers and the ePAL community on their own traditions, holiday celebrations, and national food. So, this teacher used ePALs and used email to connect students around the world. In the chat box, let's talk about it. How else could you connect students to international counterparts? Yes, blogging from Malaysia. Using Skype, of course, Facebook messaging. Edmodo, we'll talk about that in just a bit. Skype, Twitter, Facebook, Hangouts, blogging, Pinterest. Fantastic. You folks are really bringing a lot of good ideas to the conversation today. Thank you. Heading back to South America, we turn our attention to a second submission from Uruguay. Secondary School Number 2, Andrés Martínez Trueba, is a state-run school. A staff of 88 teachers provides 750 students in the first, second, and third grades with English education. In addition, the school provides teacher training opportunities to current and future educators in the community and surrounding province. Secondary School Number 2 utilizes a thematic unit approach. In one thematic unit, called the Organic Orchard, students learn English through the context of community gardening. Isn't that a neat idea? The unit integrates language with other content areas like physics, math, art, geography, biology. Keynote speakers, such as professional agronomists and others from the community, are also brought in to share their expertise. During the unit, students are brought to a nearby community garden about a block away from the school, where they can apply their knowledge and learn the values of cooperation, equality, and hard work. Since its inception, over 1,600 students have visited and volunteered their time at this beautiful garden. As English teacher Sunny Bracco, who I believe is on here today, as she beautifully notes, this kind of experience enlightens children and provides them with knowledge and love for soil and the miracle of life that is hidden in every seed. Sunny, beautifully put. Continuing our journey, the American Education Center, known as AEC, is an English school located in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Classes at AEC cover all proficiency levels, from beginners to advanced learners, from school children to executives. The school's aim is to help students become proficient in the English language through a blended learning approach, combining technology with classroom teaching to create a winning learning experience. Recently, teacher Kim Tang Tai and another colleague assigned a speaking activity, allowing students, yes, I said students, to choose their own topic. To the teacher's amazement, students chose to discuss marriage equality. Guiding the students in the preparation of the presentation, the teachers noted students' excitement in talking about the topic. They noted their meticulous preparation and the high level of confidence. The big takeaway here, this activity demonstrates the many, many, many benefits of student choice in learning activities. Just one small word of caution. If you do elect to have students choose topics, which is a fantastic idea, be sure that these topics are both appropriate for the school and community context. Teachers should always be aware of the sensitivity of topics, particularly in the areas of politics and religion. And teachers should be prepared to help guide the conversation activity in appropriate ways. So let's keep this up, everybody. In your chat box, what other topics do you think your students would be interested in when doing learning activities or projects in the classroom? What other topics? Sports, we see sports. Festivals, the Olympic Games. Kiro says sports. Javier has mentioned the environment. My gosh, I can't even keep track. You have so many good ideas here. Family news, I think that's really neat. Yeah, I like how you've said student interest. If students aren't interested, well, they're not going to be very motivated. Oh, Violeta, you said love. I think that is that's a nice topic. Wow. Keep the conversation going. I'm going to move on to Bolivia. Centro Boliviano Americano is a 69-year-old English institution recognized for its excellence in teaching. With 3 branches strategically located throughout the city of La Paz, the school serves over 6,000 students, many of whom are able to take advantage of reduced tuition. Centro Boliviano Americano has the mission to serve the Bolivian society through the development of educational, cultural, and academic activities that promote ethical values and social responsibility. Recognizing that more and more students have access to technology, teachers at the Binational Center utilize Quizlet, an online platform that allows teachers different options in creating quizzes. A free service, Quizlet gives teachers the ability to create, administer, and even grade quizzes all online. With Quizlet, students can easily access and complete quizzes on their laptops or cell phones. Teachers are then able to monitor student performance and share this information with other teachers. It's a fantastic tool to help teachers continually assess their students. So I'd like to know, how many of you have ever asked students to take a quiz or complete an assignment using their cell phones? Karina in Uruguay, thank you, yes. Javier from Mexico. Good point. You always have to acknowledge the student level, and maybe their access to technology could be an issue. I hope that you'll take a look at it. Now to Pakistan. Thank you, Pakistan, for submitting. Orchard Grammar School is a 14-year-old school serving 1,280 students. The school has programs for primary, secondary, and students preparing for the Cambridge International Examination. In providing the best quality of education, the school's goal is to build in their students a sense of self-esteem, confidence, initiative, motivation, and teamwork. Students at Orchard Grammar School focus on complex problems through project-based learning. We had talked about project-based learning before. The teacher's role is that of coach and facilitator, helping to guide students to solve problems on their own. Use of multimedia presentations and tactile-based learning allows students to physically interact with objects in the real world to understand how they work. For example, in the picture that you see, a learning station has been set up, entirely dedicated to wildlife and village life. Students from a young age group are brought to these stations and then are allowed to interact with these objects, often which are created by teachers. The students then leave having a better understanding of the material and the content. Isn't that a neat idea? Station work in your schools. Argentina, you are up. Americana is a binational center dedicated to providing high-quality instruction in English and to promoting mutual cultural understanding between the U.S. and Argentina. Americana is a 59-year-old organization with 52 teachers and 2,500 students. The school is known for using cutting-edge technology to teach, communicate, inform, promote cultural activities, and to create a fun environment in which learning will take place and to stimulate creativity. The school utilizes many different online platforms. For teachers working with adolescents or adults, use of the educational platform Edmodo is used, and several of you have also mentioned that you use Edmodo. Through Edmodo, teachers are able to easily and safely collaborate with students, parents, and other teachers. For teachers working with young learners, Gloucester EDU is an online platform that allows younger learners to express ideas in their creation of interactive multimedia posters. How neat. The school also employs many school-wide contests. Previous competitions have included a library scavenger hunt. How interesting. You'll see that one on the right, where students use their cell phones to become more familiar with different library resources that are available to them. The school also organizes several school-wide contests, including riddle and tongue twister contests and literary writing contests. In the writing competitions, they use the educational platform Storybird, which I have seen a couple of you reference here today. So let's go back to our chat box, everybody. Thinking about competitions, what other kinds of competitions have you done in your schools? I see spelling bees, rallies, grammar games, fun, password. Renato says he uses Jeopardy. Very neat. Oh, singing contest. How about karaoke, everybody? Ooh, a listening competition. That would be an interesting thing to watch. Wow, singing songs and using that for pronunciation and phonetic work. Cool. Donna has said quizzes. Linguistic kangaroo. Okay, you're going to have to share that one on our discussion board. Very interesting. So please be sure to share some of these things on our discussion board following this presentation. Next, Slaveko Arsov. This is a primary school located in Stip, Macedonia. The school, now 15 years in operation, serves 460 students. Teacher Kiro Jordanov wants to make learning English a fun experience. He utilizes a series of funny and engaging grammar videos from YouTube. Each video, no more than 7 or 10 minutes in length, emphasizes a specific grammar point, let's say the present continuous. Students watch and then complete exercises using that specific grammar point within a specific context. As a supplement to the lesson, students act out some of the scenes. Teacher Kiro notes that incorporating video contributes to a more motivated classroom, and I think you can see this in the picture to your right. Creates a motivated classroom where everyone wants to participate. The teacher says that in the future, he plans to produce some videos from these activities and then post them onto the internet. So, let's go back to the chat box. Are there any other video or podcast series that you like to incorporate into your instruction? Funny videos. YouTube. Yes, if you go to YouTube. Absolutely. TED Talks. Absolutely. Sitcoms. Very nice. Movie clips I'm seeing. Ha ha! Dora the Explorer. Very nice. And obviously, we want to be mindful of the level of the media that we're having students watch. Even some SpongeBob. Interesting. Ooh, Roman from Mexico, you use the Nintendo Wii. Interesting. You're going to have to share some of that with our discussion board. We now go to the jungles of the Peruvian Amazon. The Binational Center of Tarapoto, Peru is a civil, private, cultural, educational, and non-profit association. Established in 2003, it is one of only a handful of language institutions in the San Martin region which provides English language instruction and ongoing training and support for teachers in the region. This is supported by the U.S. Embassy. The school launched its first Access Micro-Scholarship program in 2012. In addition to learning English, engaging in cultural activities, and becoming more involved in community service, these students participated in a 3-day overnight camp where they learned English through different thematic and academic-based activities. Wanting to share this phenomenal experience with a more global audience, Access student Carlos, pictured on the left, yes, he's only 15 years old, he co-participated in English in a webinar with the English Language Fellow, where he shared how the experience changed his life and how it contributed to his own deeper learning and understanding. Teacher Tony Paredes, on your right, one of the designers of the camp curriculum, was also able to share his experiences in organizing and developing the camp curriculum. Along with the English language fellow, Tony shared his experiences at International TESOL in Portland, Oregon in 2014. And what an incredible opportunity that was for him. So a quick question. How many of you have either presented at a conference or hosted a webinar? Wow. It looks like definitely a lot of you. And those of you who haven't, don't worry, don't worry. There are opportunities all over the place. Keep your ears open to conferences, regional conferences, countrywide conferences, international conferences, and put in a submission. In Senegal, Cure Madiba High School is a public school located in the rural Kaolack region. It serves 1,000 students in grades 1 to 6. Teacher Ousmane Toure employs what he calls communicative vocabulary activities to support classroom instruction. After conducting a vocabulary lesson in class, the teacher presents students with 3 different, unique, outside of class activities that support and expand upon students' learning. Each activity builds upon one another, allowing students to use the newly learned vocabulary in very different ways. As you can see in this unit, the teacher gets students to think about the issues of smoking through writing, researching, and completing projects. Here, he has them design a poster outlining the dangers of smoking. It's a great way to extend learning beyond the school walls, and so simple and effective. Our last submission comes from teacher Anka, a public high school teacher as well as an Access Micro Scholarship teacher. Working in partnership with the Bacau County Teacher Training Center, Ms. Anka designs interactive educational activities to help students develop fluency and communication strategies in English while addressing American culture. The activities seek to expose students to the target language in real context and to prepare students for effective communication with native and non-native speakers of English. It is through utilizing the American Corner Center that teacher Anka has been able to teach many interesting topics, including women's struggle for equality, the universal right to vote, multiculturalism, including discussions on the African American, Native American, and Chicano experiences, democracy and human rights in the U.S., freedom of speech, freedom of religion. As teacher Anka says, these experiences have a multiplier effect. We talked about that before. They have a multiplier effect on mutual understanding. The students, having a more favorable view of the American people, are able to share their Access program experiences with their family and peers. So, last question right now for you. What are some other interesting cultural topics that you could introduce in your classes? I have a feeling we're going to get a lot. Cultural activities, traditions, baseball, cool. Clothing, holidays, ooh, stereotypes, that would be an interesting one. Traditions. Nice to see that you are all still awake, although you're moving so fast I can hardly keep up. Cultural symbols. Violetta says tolerance. Alberto has said regional foods, picnics, eating habits, flags, superstitions. Wowzers. So, to review, how can you share what you learn? Well, first and foremost, apply the new information to your own teaching. Bring what you learn into your classroom. Why not consider presenting at local or regional conferences? Heck, why don't you host your own webinar? Participate in a webinar. Go to department meetings. Talk with colleagues, 1 or 2 colleagues, 3 colleagues, 4. Consider publishing what you learn on a blog or a wiki or social media, maybe on our forum magazine. Truly, the possibilities for sharing are endless. So here are some factors that will increase opportunities to share. You're already doing it right now by joining us on the American English webinar. You're developing networks and hopefully friends with other professionals in the field who are equally passionate about learning and sharing. Another factor, determining times when sharing can occur. Now this can certainly pose difficulties. We're going to look at it further in the next slide. But finding times when you can meet with professionals to talk about classroom situations. Folks, it's all about attitude. Be open to sharing and realize, wow, that learning and sharing is about improving your own classroom practice. Share practical ideas that have worked in your classroom. If it has worked for you, it may work for others. And finally, gain knowledge and expertise in an area. The more you know in a subject, the more likely you're going to share that expertise. So here's just a few notes for leaders in the area of education, and I know many of you are. And this is how to build an educational culture that promotes sharing. So number 1, identify strong teachers and colleagues in your school. They can be resources for other teachers. Number 2, provide teachers with opportunities to gain expertise. Allow teachers to go to professional development. Allow teachers to go gain expertise from attending a conference. Give them opportunities. And finally, as we were talking about before, with time being somewhat of an issue, allot specific time for open forums, demonstrations, small group planning, and a place where teachers can share lesson plans. So we've seen the benefits of sharing, and we've seen some examples in sharing. So to conclude, here is a challenge for you, and we're going to throw up the poll, our last poll. Within the next month, will you promise, please, will you promise to share something you have learned? I like the numbers I'm seeing. Again, we have over 90% of you who said that you will promise to share something you have learned. Of course, as I've mentioned before, if you have an idea or resource right now, be sure to post it to our Ning discussion board following this webinar. As we move forward in our efforts to share, I think this quote from the Dalai Lama is a nice way to end our webinar. Share your knowledge. It is a way to achieve immortality. Indeed, when you share, those ideas do live on forever. So keep sharing. And I strongly urge you to access these 2 resources, which were used to develop much of the content in this webinar. You will find these links as well as many of the resources that were presented in this webinar. You will find these on our discussion board within the Ning. And once again, I'd like to just thank you all for viewing today's webinar. This was so much fun. I'd especially like to thank all of those who shared submissions with us. Man, without you, we wouldn't have.
Wow, thanks Ryan for inspiring us to share what we do in the classroom through teacher collaboration and exchange. And thank you so much all who submitted materials for today's session and who were featured here today. Congratulations on a job well done, and we hope you'll continue to share your experience with others in our field in all of the ways that Ryan talked about today, and of course on our Ning. And as always, be sure to check out all the great resources that are available